going to go over some basics in getting started with Midjourney and generating artificial intelligence artwork, or AI art, as probably more frequently called. Um, so, going to go over Midjourney, which is one of the most popular AI art platforms out there. And so, this is what the interface looks like. This is through Discord. If you guys aren't familiar with Discord, I will leave it up to you to start looking into it. Basically, it's a platform that just hosts different servers. So I take it that you guys will be able to figure out how to sign up for Midjourney, as I don't feel like signing up again. So once you've signed up, you're going to see, essentially, you're going to get to this Midjourney tab over here. And you're going to have all of these different channels, which you can jump into on Midjourney. And I believe the newbie ones, somewhere over here, are free, and you get so many free image generations. I don't know, maybe 20, maybe 50. I'm not sure. And so once you've used up all that, you're gonna have to then pay for Midjourney, and there's a couple different option plans that you can look into for it. What goes on in here though is it's a lot of as you generate an image, other people are also generating images, and it's all populating in this forum together. So your image will get pushed up while other people generate their images. So it's not really the best to be in these different public forums. You can come down here and look at different ones. Some of these are good. You'll get into learning some different techniques in here, and they're neat to look through. But what I prefer to do is I go into direct messages, and then I chat directly with the Midjourney bot, and that way it retains only my artwork. So as you can see, I did a couple of dogs, and so you can see some basics about how it turns out. So once you're in here and you're chatting with the Midjourney bot, to get started very quickly, what's going to happen is you're going to come down to where it says message at Midjourney bot, and click in there, and you're going to hit /imagine. So you hit the slash, it'll bring up the different prompts, and click on the imagine one. Now you have a black box that says prompt. And so I generated a dog, so let's write a cat. And then you just hit enter. So you speak to Midjourney in plain English, and you don't have to write anything too abstract for the basics. So like this, well, 2 words in this case, a cat, and it will generate us 4 different images of a cat, 4 distinct images. And as you can see, as I did with a dog, you get 4 different images of dogs here. And while this image is generating, I'll quickly go over how these images are labeled. So starting at the top left, this is image 1, then 2, then 3, and then 4. And so underneath, you'll notice that there is U 1 through 4 and V 1 through 4. U is upgrade. So if you want to upgrade an image, which I upgraded image 1, it will enhance the image and it'll make it larger. So you can see down here, we have an enhanced image of that golden retriever, and it's a larger, fuller image. And then if you hit V4 for variations, you get the 4th image, and you get 4 different variations of it, which you can see here. And you'll notice that the variations aren't very distinct. With the new upgrade, it doesn't give you really unique variations on it. Very slight ones you can notice in maybe the ears, the whiskers, the background, the collar. A couple things on the dog are varied between these images. And then whichever one you like from here, you can keep going down. You can keep upgrading and creating variations until you're satisfied. So let's take a look at our cat. So we have 4 different images of cats. They look pretty good. Definitely noticeable that they are computer-generated images. But I like them. I think they turned out pretty well. So now maybe we want something a little bit more than a cat. So let's say a cat standing on a table. And let's see what it generates here. Okay. And so we can see that it's starting to generate it. You can see it's at 31, now 93%. Once it gets to 100%, it will then repopulate and finish, as it did here. So now we have 4 different images of a cat standing on a table. This bottom left one's funny with this tiny little table that it's on. But I quite like the bottom right image. Something to point out real fast. So if we look at the top left image, so image number 1, you can see it didn't do a great job generating its feet. It's got little feet down here, but then it's got these little guys hanging here, and not quite sure what that is. Looks like a 6th pair of or a 3rd pair of feet on the cat. So that's something to always pay attention to. Is you might get some funky results like that. Okay, so let's take the bottom right image and let's see what kind of variations we can get off this. All right, so as these variations finalize and load, take a look and see what we got. So nothing too crazy in these variations. Slight variations in the background, but as far as the cat itself goes, almost nothing is different. A little bit different look in the faces, the head tilt. The lamps are all different on these, the chairs, but not as distinct as maybe I would have liked to have these variations. So let's add a little bit more to this image. Okay, cat standing on a table with a Christmas tree in the background. All right, so for the holidays, let's see what we got here. Okay, and so we definitely have a cat on a table with a Christmas tree. I think these turned out pretty nice. And so mind you, this doesn't come from this image up here. When I put this prompt in, it generates a completely new image based off of what I wrote. And so there is a way for me to take this image and have this be what they call the seed image to generate new images off of, and it would have taken this image and probably just put a tree in the background of it. And we can get into that a little bit later here. Okay, so let's try to add a little bit more description into this. So let's a brown cat standing on a white table with a Christmas tree in the background. And now let's give it a certain style. Let's say a cartoony style. Cartoon style. Okay, so we've got a rather cartoony looking cat with standing on a table with a Christmas tree. Brown, looks a little too orange, but that's all right. And let's try a different style here. Also on this top one, I did write a white table, and it didn't pick up on that so much. This one, maybe the number 1 image got it a little bit, but the other ones, and this one, number 3, missed the table completely. So you're gonna get some variations on how this is gonna be presented. All right, and so looks like we're getting some interesting results here as it loads up. See, looks like we got a cat standing with a tie on. So there are final results. Definitely a brown cat on a table, got the Christmas tree, and does look very comic book like. All right, and let's try one final style. Let's do it in the style of an oil painting. All right, start loading it up. It's starting to look like the original cat images that we had. With the new update to Midjourny, the painting styles start to get a little not as distinct as they were in the previous version. But this still does look like an oil painting, especially this top left one. So image number 1, you can see looks like they've got some nice brush strokes going up near the candle. And overall, I think it did a pretty good job. So now let's start trying and experimenting with some abstract styles. All right, and so we have a manga style of a cat. I think this one turned out pretty well. I like this bottom right one. That looks pretty interesting, pretty accurate to I think a manga style. All right, so let's start exploring some different things. Let's move away from the cat. Evil warrior, and we will write photo realistic. 8K. So these are all just little things that I've noticed over time will help give you maybe a more realistic looking photo. There's a couple different keywords that we can explore a little later that will help. So let's see what we get here. Okay, looks a little bit too computer generated. Maybe that 8K setting wasn't great. So let's try that again, but without 8K in there and see what we get. Okay, let's take a look at these. I think a little bit, perhaps a little bit more realistic. Definitely the top left one. Even the top right looks pretty good. I definitely think image number 3 on the bottom left, that looks a little computer generated. But I think the top left is nice. So now let's start upgrading and diving into the upgrades and the variations and see what we can get. So I like number 1. We're gonna go with upgrade, and we're gonna make a variation of it as well. All right, so let's take a look at these variations. So really not that much difference. The helmet styles are a little different. The shoulders slightly, the chainmail around the neck a little bit. Overall, the face looks generally the same. So interesting. And then our upgraded one. Let's take a look at the upgraded. And so then that is in comparison back to the one up here. I think it looks pretty good. And now let's do light upscale redo and see what we get. All right, we're about 57% there, and it's looking pretty similar to the original. All right, so we're at about 100% now. Let's take a look at what the differences are between the one that we did and then the redo. So here was the first upscaled version, and then the redo. So it looks like the helmet changed a little bit. The shoulders, the nose, looks like he's got a little bit of a scar on his nose, maybe a scar right here on his cheek as well. I think his lips, yes, his lips look a little bit different, a little bit more beat up in the redo. So interesting. You get a slight variation on the image. And ultimately, I think the redo looks a bit better, a bit more detailed. So then let's try beta upscale redo. Okay, and so the beta upscale honestly doesn't look a whole lot different from the original. Looks pretty similar, really. A little different. The helmet variation looks like we got the same helmet as this guy, but overall pretty similar. Okay, and then the last thing off this original upscaled one, let's make variations. Okay, and so we got some variations, and so these are slightly different than what we got before, and definitely the helmet is has changed quite a bit more. A little bit different in the shoulders. The face, though, pretty much the same across the board. Little variations, I think, in his nose, and just kind of the details on his face, but nothing too crazy here. All right, and so the last thing we're going to do, so the one that we did the beta upscale redo on, we also have a feature now that we can use called remaster. Let's take a look at what this does. Okay, so we got the remaster here. So as you can see with this remaster, we've got very different variations on our knight. So it's one over here, completely different face. Well, completely different face on both of them. Completely different helmet styles, completely different shoulder styles. Much different photos that we can have here.